Hey guys, how's it going? I'm Duke of Italy, favorite lo-fi music YouTuber, and welcome back to Unreleased April. Today, we are covering something from a band that I really enjoy, and I've definitely mentioned them before, Songs from a Black Hole. This is their scrapped demo that was going to take place in between their first two albums, Blue Album and Pinkerton, and it was kind of a combination of those two styles, but it ended up a lot of it being scrapped, some of it being put on the Pinkerton album, some of it being on the deluxe edition of the album, some of it being on the next two Rivers Cuomo solo releases. They're just called like solo recordings, or alone as they're called on Spotify. And so what's really cool about this album is that Rivers was very inspired by opera at the time, and you can see this on Pinkerton a lot. So he decided to make a space themed rock opera where the story is about, so Jonas, I don't know if it's from My Name is Jonas, but it's a guy named Jonas, is a depressed guy in the year 2126, I believe, and he just graduated from space cadet school, and he goes to be a space cadet. So he goes on a rocket ship with his two friends Juan and Dondo, and then a girl named, I think, Laurel, and their cook Maria, as well as a robot named M1, but she only shows up for 2 lines, so not that important. And they fly all the way to this planet to basically stop it from a sun like swallowing it. And so along the way, Jonas sleeps with Maria towards the beginning, and then he realizes he's not into her, and he feels really bad about it, and he's all torn up about it, and he goes to talk to Laurel about it. But in doing so, he ends up sleeping with Laurel as well, and he feels like incredibly guilty at this point. And then Laurel basically dumps him, and then Maria's super mad at him, and so he's just not having a good time for the next 9 or so months until Maria gives birth. It's his kid, and then he's freaking out about that. And so he's like, "Oh, Maria, I'm sorry. I'll try and be there for the kid. I'll try and be there for you," because that's where the song "Devotional" come in eventually. And so eventually he like says, "I'm here for you." But the thing is, Maria actually slept with, I think, Dondo, which is, I'll get into that later. And so this brings him to such a low point in his life that he decides to stay on the planet, and he gets eaten by the sun, just engulfed. So it's a pretty sad story. Completely relatable, not in concept or theory, but the in song form, it's actually pretty relatable. I realized I was actually like saying this aloud, that it's not as relatable as it initially sounds, but it's actually pretty relatable. So a lot of these songs, actually all of these songs, there's a chance that if you haven't heard this album that you might still know it. If you listen to Rivers Cuomo's solo releases, or if you've listened to every Weezer album, namely just the Pinkerton Deluxe Edition, one of these you will know if you listen to Billy Cobb, who made the Zerwi Part 1 release. I'll get to that though. So it starts off entirely with the song called Countdown, or Ooh, which is just a little a cappella song of, I think, all the members of Weezer just doing oohs, and it's really pretty. It's a little silly, but it's pretty, and you got a countdown going on in the background. Not a crazy opening, but it's a cute little track. So naturally following the countdown, we actually get the song Blast Off. So it's got some fun little chuggy guitar grooves with a nice simple drum groove. Nothing too crazy here. Pretty textbook Weezer. It's just a little bit more angsty, which is kind of the shift towards the Pinkerton sound. And it's actually something I'd use to describe the rest of this album. The cleanliness of Blue and the hard-hitting hooks that are just super effective, but a little bit more of the emotional side of Pinkerton, and especially the simple grooves. Next is a song that's about Maria. It's where Maria gets introduced to the whole thing. It's called Who You Callin' Bitch, which it's a fun continuation on the previous tracks, but I don't think it goes into the next track nearly as well, which is the song Oh Jonas, or Maria's Theme Part 1, which is Maria singing, but on the version I heard, it was just Rivers Cuomo's voice like pitched up. So it was a fine little track, but then we get into the song Please Remember. And Please Remember is interesting because I think it's polyrhythmic. Like there's several different time signatures that it cycles in and out of, with Rivers just singing this silly little song. So naturally, this goes into the song Come to My Pod, which is Maria singing to Jonas to come to her pod and to sleep with her. And Jonas joins in on the second verse. It's a fun little contrast here. You would never be able to tell that they're different characters. Well, maybe, but on the video I watched, it was given names. This actually goes into Maria's Theme Part 2, which is another cute little building track that has this really insane pedal used for Rivers' guitar here, because it sounds like super electronic. It's really bizarre, but I think it's pretty cool. It's also just instrumental, and it's fun here. And you guys are probably wondering how I zoomed through these tracks all that much. Most of these are less than a minute long or less than 2 minutes long, so they're really so short and sweet. Like, I had trouble reviewing Pinkerton initially because all those songs are extremely short, and I just had to like hyper focus so I could just write it down. Same thing here, super short stuff, really straight and to the point, not a second of lingering, which is one of Weezer's strengths, especially in the early days, is they never kept you waiting. I mean, which my favorite song of theirs probably is Only in Dreams off the End of Blue album, which is a more meandering track, especially by Weezer standards. But the punchiness is totally here, and it does follow on Pinkerton too. So after all these songs about Jonas finally getting to sleep with Maria, we get the song "Oh No, This Is Not For Me," which it's just post nut depression in song form. It's cute, it's silly, kind of dumb, but it's a fun little song. And then it goes into the opening track of Pinkerton, "Tired of Sex," the first like full length song on this whole album, of which there are not that many. So it's "Tired of Sex." I reviewed this on my Pinkerton review. Go watch that review and you'll get a better context on this album as a whole, but I'm going to skip it for now just because I've already mentioned it. Next is actually the song "Super Friend," which is a scrapped song that I couldn't really find anywhere else that is another lengthier track. It's got a cute little guitar opening, and one thing I like about this a lot is Rivers uses his falsetto a lot more here, and I think he's actually got a pretty strong falsetto, and I actually like how it's done here. And next is the bonus track off of Pinkerton, "You Gave Your Love to Me Softly." This is a very amazing song. It's really tender and just it feels nice, and it's one of my favorite deluxe edition songs. And the thing about the Pinkerton deluxe edition is a lot of those songs are just so good. It's almost like weird how they're not on Pinkerton, maybe just because they didn't match the negative on that album, because that album's completely negative, but it's still just really good stuff. The next song is "Oh Jonas, I Hear You." So "Oh Jonas, I Hear You" is about Maria hearing Laurel and Jonas sleeping together. I think even though it's supposed to be like a friend thing, hence the name of the song "Super Friend." And then she's just heartbroken and she doesn't understand it. Next is the song "Waiting on You," and if you know Billy Cobb, who released Zerwi Part 1, this song sounds, I think it was sampled entirely for that album, which is the song "She Doesn't Love Me," which, first of all, go listen to that EP if you like EPs, because that song's awesome. I'm a big fan of Billy Cobb's work. But this version right here is kind of like a gender bent version of that song that already exists, so it's really nice. So the next song that ends Act 1 is called "Get You." This is basically where Jonas has his breakdown, where Laurel throws him out, and then Maria doesn't want him now, and he's just like, he's so confused on what he's supposed to do. He thought Laurel was a friend, but apparently not. And the song that I think ends Act 1 is "I Just Threw Out the Love of My Dreams," which is from Laurel's point of view, where she regrets all of this. She like said such harsh things to Jonas, but she actually still really likes him. And it's like her like huge downfall here, and it's kind of funny because it kind of ends her arc for the album. "I Just Threw Out the Love of My Dreams" actually shows up the Pinkerton Deluxe Edition with a female vocalist. I don't know her name, but this song is popular enough that people even cover it on YouTube. I've seen covers and they're actually really good. Deservedly so. The song itself is great. I love it. There's also dueling harmonies here, which has been missing on a lot of these songs so far, and I just dig it a lot. The next song is the beginning of Act 2, which is 9 months later. It's called "She's Had a Girl," which is about Maria having the baby. And it's a pretty sad track. It's a lot of like big moments of realization. I think it was pretty decent. And next we get probably one of my two least favorite tracks here, "Dude, We're Finally Landing." I just think a lot of the vocal harmonies here are very silly, and a lot of the words aren't that good either. Just overall, one of the weaker tracks here. And especially for an album that's already loaded with a minute or less songs, I really didn't need another one. The next song is "Now I Finally See," where he kind of realizes that he has to be with Maria because it's just what he has to do. This part's a little confusing here, but I guess he finally goes back to Maria, which this is after 9 months, so you think there's enough time to be forgiven in there, but I mean, I don't know. What I like about this song is it's really slow, but it's also really noisy, which it relates to a lot of Pinkerton tracks, and it's just a strong classic Weezer sound. This goes into the classic Pinkerton song "No Other One," which is just really great. It's probably the most stick out song on here. It really feels like it wasn't meant for Songs from a Black Hole, but maybe the lyrics were originally different. I can't really tell. And this goes into the Pinkerton Deluxe Edition track "Devotion," which is a song I mentioned earlier. And this is a really sad song because it's basically about how I think Rivers was putting it, where like he like kind of pushed a girl away because she wasn't like up to like what he thought were like standards. Like maybe his parents wouldn't like her, maybe she's just not that smart. But then he's like, you know what, but like you were kind of right for me this whole time, which it's a really sad concept, but I I mean, I totally relate to it. Everyone's had moments like that. The next song is tied with Dude, We're Finally Landing for my least favorite song on the album. This is What Is This I Find? It's like the climax, I guess. It's where Jonas finds, I think, a condom. I think a used condom, used by Dondo, and Maria, and he's like, "Oh my goodness, Maria like cheated on me," because I don't know if they were like getting back together or whatever, but he was just like, "Oh, I thought you like wanted me or something." It's a little cringy. It's not like specific in the wording, but also some of the wording is still too crude to like not be specific about it. So it's just not a good balance. It's a stupid little track. It doesn't kill me inside because it's like 30 seconds, but like it's just kind of whatever. And this goes into the classic Pinkerton song "Why Bother." Another great Pinkerton banger, and I mean, I can't get enough of it, so just keep those going. And this, so basically, Jonas has said, "Why bother with women?" This just crushed me. I just got pushed away by two people, and my friends are probably split up on me now. And he's 9 months away by rocket ship from his original home, so it's just all over for him. So he basically decides to stay on this planet and just get eaten by the sun. I think they failed their mission here, but this is actually the song "Long Time Sunshine," which shows up on the deluxe edition of Pinkerton. It also shows up on a lot of Rivers Cuomo stuff. They even did that on their Tiny Desk concert, I want to say in 2019, I think. But this is at least like tied for my favorite Weezer track. This is one of the saddest songs I know. Even people that don't like Weezer, I will show this song and they're like, "Wow, that is insanely sad," because it's just one of the saddest things ever, especially within the context of this album. It's just brutally crushing, and it's so sad because like "Long Time Sunshine" makes it feel like I need a fresh start, and even though everything's so sad right now and my whole life has just been sad, I need a really fresh start here. But in the context of this album, it's him giving up, and he's just like, "I'll just live my last few seconds just with the brightest sunshine there ever was," and then he gets burned alive or something, which is just sad, man. I don't know why the album has to go on that crazy a note, but it's pretty crushing, honestly. But totally listen to "Long Time Sunshine." Whether or not it's in the context of this album, I think it's a great song either way. Maybe a little over the top for this album. I don't think it was initially written for this album, because there are a lot of lyrics about Rivers himself, like wanting to go back to school, maybe like a traditional home and not have the rock star lifestyle, because he kind of thinks it's overrated, and that's kind of his perspective for a lot of stuff. So Weezer, I love Weezer. Weezer's a great band, and this is a very interesting release, and it is far from perfect. There's a couple songs here that I think are actually kind of bad, but the rest here is pretty solid overall. It's a really interesting blend of styles of Weezer. Here's the thing: this is the first album in this month that I actually fully recommend for a lot of people. If you like Weezer, if you're a Weezer completionist, if you are really into alt rock, or if you just need something to listen to that's very, very different, as rock opera by Weezer is something I could recommend to you. And it's something I've been really digging about Weezer recently. They've been working on this new album for 2021, but they released "OK Human," I want to say in March or February. I don't remember exactly. I'm too big of a Weezer fan to not know this. But that album was very great, and one thing I love about it so much is, so we get "Songs from a Black Hole" where he makes this opera thing, and he was very much into opera at the time with Madame Butterfly and all these different shows, and he said he was just playing them on repeat. And so a lot of songs he's had since then have been like, "I'm not going to live up to your expectations, and I don't care why." And he's gone in interviews saying all these things. And still, in the meantime, it kind of feels like he's been trying to live up to expectations while trying to be his own thing at the same time. And then we get flops kind of like Black Album or Pacific Daydream, where you're not quite sure if he's trying to be commercial or not. But the actual songs themselves that are actually about him not conforming, I think, are pretty excellent. "High as a Kite" I love, and who can forget "Pork and Beans" off of Red Album? That song's a banger. But the thing about "OK Human," I actually very much recommend this album. This is probably in like my top 15 of the year so far. It's orchestrally arranged Weezer songs. It's still a classic 33-ish minute Weezer album, just with different instrumentals, and every song in that album kind of goes into the other. So it's almost like "Songs from a Black Hole" came to fruition on this release, and a lot of people say it's one of the top 5 Weezer albums. It's like, obviously Weezer has the 2 great albums, but then you got like 5 or 6 like albums that you could have in the third spot, and a lot of people are like, yeah, OK Human is definitely one of those contenders. So I find that very interesting that it's kind of the meeting point here, because like Pinkerton was very punky and he was very like disappointed with it after, and Rivers like really put it all together for OK Human, which it's the reason I'm mentioning it right now is because I think it's so interesting that it comes and it's almost like Songs from a Black Hole came into fruition now. It's a similar concept, uh, not exactly in the concept album setting, but it's chamber pop, which is something that's totally off the cuff, something that's pretty rare for a rock band to do, and I think they nailed it right on the head. And I think this is a good thing to listen to, especially if you listen to the new album. So that is my review. I'm gonna say I recommend this album. I recommend this to a lot of people. It'll make you smile. It'll make you sad. It crushed me for about a good 20 minutes after, but it's a fun little listen here. And it's not perfect, but go ahead and give it a listen if you got 45 minutes of free time. So that's about it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, go ahead and comment down below. If you liked it, I'd appreciate a like and a subscribe so you can watch my later videos. I hope you guys are doing well out there. I'll see you next time. Have a good day. Bye.